I'm excited to talk to you about your book.
It's called The New Weight Loss Era
Okay.
because weight loss is not new. We've been talking about weight loss for decades, as we all know, and really understanding where we've been and where we're going. And as a registered dietitian, that we can really help people in that process, wherever they are on their journey. And we're here to help.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems like we're a little bit of my backstory. I remember I've been on diet since I was 5. I was put on something called Ma Wang. I don't know if you remember that. You might not even be old enough to remember that. This was like the 80s, and my parents were at their wits' end. None of the diets were working. So I was put on this supplement called Ma Wang. Didn't sleep, taken off the supplement. Then there was Fen came around. I was put on that. Again, didn't sleep, taken off of it, thankfully, pretty quickly. Those have been my experience with diet drugs. Then I got sober and as an adult started dieting on my own and was told like, well, you can still get diet drugs, but they would have probably impacted my sobriety because they were basically just stimulants
Mhm.
and like figured out something useful where I could lose weight and not just gain it all back about 6 years ago. But I remember as a kid dreaming that somebody would have some breakthrough that would kind of solve the riddle that was me medically, that I thought, I imagined it would be a pill that I could take and I would just become a normal person, quote unquote, right? I find this word normal now to be like nobody wants to be labeled as normal and nobody is, identifies as everybody's got their stuff. So I just mean that in a way of like, as part of the sober community, we call people normies who can pour a glass of wine and don't have to finish it. And so I think of somebody who can go and get a value meal at McDonald's and be perfectly satisfied just eating that as a quote unquote normal person. I don't mean that their whole life reduces down to the average. And now it seems like we have the magic diet drugs. They now exist from my perception. Who knows what happens, but apparently these peptides have been around treating people with type 2 diabetes for a while. It does seem magical. Now, I'm not a dietitian, but let me throw at you my concerns. My concerns are I was 550 pounds. So you have to go really far back, 20 plus years to get me at that weight. But at that weight, I'm probably a perfect candidate to hop on one of these medications for the rest of my life. I have a daughter with type 1 diabetes. There's no question in my mind that she will be taking insulin, which is also a peptide, I believe, for the rest of her life. Fine. No issue with that. That is to solve her life, that handles some structural anomaly in her life. But I have a lot of friends and I have a wife and I have 4 daughters. And a lot of the dieting I see is not people who are 550 pounds, and this is just my experience because I have a lot of women in my life. It is women who want to lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. And the diets that I see that are picked quite often are just prolonging the yo-yo cycle. And now if we introduce these magic diet drugs in, all that really does to my eye in the situation where I see the majority of dieting is making those yo-yo diets kind of easier. And that's my concern. Super beneficial for people who are morbidly obese and are going to have to be on them for the rest of their life. Concerning in other areas where it's like where people cycle on and off of these things, body weight averages out to be static, but actual body fat percentage rises because as we lose weight rapidly, we're also losing lean tissue. I just spewed so much at you.
I am glad that you did because I think that this shows your passion to what you're speaking on. I was just telling a mentor of mine, I have been hearing stories like yours for 25 years. And I started in bariatrics and counseling way back when I was about 21 years old and came back as a coordinator, have really truly dedicated my life to weight loss and weight management. And it's something that I'm extremely passionate about as well. And what you're talking about and the struggles you went through, you are not alone. There's so many people that are in that same boat, right? And so You are right. The yo-yo dieting is a massive problem. And when I started in bariatrics, it was really interesting to me. One of the first questions we had to ask for the assessment is how many diets have you been on? And just like yourself, of like all the different things they've tried, the medications they tried, and they were yo-yoing. And with that yo-yo dieting came that reduction in metabolism and all of the struggles and issues that then they would have later on. So I would see the person, like you said, 500 pounds that would cry and say, Kelly, I'm not eating.
Right.
I don't know what, and so the medical doctor's like, well, they obviously are supporting their weight somehow. Like, but what I would find out after story that it was consistent. And I do see exactly what you're saying, that with this yo-yo dieting, we are going to see major problems in metabolism. And so my goal as a registered dietitian is not to fix the problem, but to be a part of the change in healthcare. And what I truly believe is that there is a massive lack of education on how to actually eat healthfully and sustainably and all of that. And so just recently we partnered with a diabetic app company. It's really pretty cool. It's brand new, called GlucoSense, and I'll get your daughter on there. She'll love it. It's free to diabetics. So what we were talking about, and the owner of the company has become a friend of mine, Jonathan, and he has type 1 diabetes. And he's like, well, Kelly, my blood sugars, like, they depend on this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Jonathan, you still have never been educated. Why are you so against the education? Because I'm telling you, if you truly are educated on what a carb is and how to put that with proteins and how to put it with fat, I can teach you how to stabilize those blood sugar levels. I can teach you on how to manage your weight. I can teach you how to do that. But we're so quick for the app or the pill or whatever it is that we're lacking still the education.
And with dieting, we're so quick for give me the simplest structure that again teaches me nothing. Okay, I'm going to be a vegan. I just don't eat meat. That's it. That's all I have to do, right? I can eat at Veggie Grill, which is vegan fast food, and I can eat,
Mm.
cashew ice cream and cashew cheese and make vegan grilled cheeses all day long, but I'm not eating meat. Or there's the other side that surprises me every day, which is like, no, vegetables are poisonous. Just eat meat. And it's like, or like carbohydrates are evil. Give me the simplest, easiest fix. Like what you're talking about is it took me so long to move away from I was actually using food to kind of quell the discomfort within me. And any kind of real knowledge or understanding was repulsive because it kind of enforced me to be responsible. And I didn't want responsibility. I wanted as little responsibility as possible. It's a tough sell, like, let's educate everyone.
Well, and that's why we wrote the book. So this book has taken 9 years. Okay. So it's not like I'm not a writer. Did not set out to write a book. But after seeing thousands of clients go through this program, we call it's a stupid generic name called the transformation program, because it really does transform people with the education. And that's all it is. We do not sell vitamins. We do not sell food. We don't sell anything. It's truly an education module that sets you up for success. And I've been able to see, like I said, thousands of people go through this, both in one-on-one counseling and in group setting with different dietitians that we now teach about this program. It works because you're truly getting the education and knowledge to work with any situation. Yes, we just had the holidays. What do you do? How do you incorporate in your life? How do you not use food, as you're saying, for coping mechanisms? And believe me, back in the day, I had complete disordered eating on the opposite side, right? So like, I understand the difficulty around food. I understand how, if you're not using it appropriately, of how it can backfire on you. I understand completely. But once even I started following my own advice, the food noise went away, my health became better, my weight stabilizes. It's been a world of difference in my own life. And so I think I'm so excited that we finally put it into written form. And believe me, it's our first book. I'm not going to say that it's the most perfect thing in the world, but it's truly going to help people. And now that insurance covers nutrition counseling, they can use this book along with their own personalized registered dietitian to get their exact, what their heritage is, what shift they work. Like if they're a truck driver, how are we going to go around that? So you really, with the book, can personalize it with your own registered dietitian as well.
Wow. I didn't know that insurance was covering
Mhm.
dietitians and nutrition. That's
Isn't it
amazing.
amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the call right before this is like all the different codes we have, the different insurances. So we're really working with clients across the U.S. to be able to work with their insurance plans and know like what codes and dietitians are coming together to work together for the first time to create the list of like what are the different codes at work. And so we can truly help people to get this covered.
Right. And what are you seeing? How is the landscape shifting today? Because we also have social media. That's another one of the things that's different, I guess, from when I was a kid. And it just seems to be filled with people who take almost religious positions on food, you know? And
I
it can be
know.
very confusing, you know?
I know. And so that's where our company really stands behind no judgment. So if you're coming in with keto, if you're coming in as vegan, if you're coming in with whatever you've read on the internet, that is awesome. But if you're coming in as keto, how are you going to get enough fiber to support your gut health? Okay, if you're coming in as vegan, how are you going to get enough protein? So let's work with this. Let's actually take wherever you're at and let's break it down for you to see like are you getting the vitamins, minerals, proteins that you need. So for instance, someone would come in and they say, I'm all about intermittent fasting, this is what works for me, I've done all this research. Great, that's awesome. Let's see, can you actually get the protein, nutrients, and vitamins you need during that amount of time? Or do we need to maybe bring it back an hour to make sure you're getting, see what I mean? Like, so we're able to really take the person to say, okay, this is what you want to follow, or this is what you've been told. So let's see how we actually get the nutrition in there to make sure this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That makes a lot of sense.
So it's like not saying like, okay, you're stupid. There's no science to back it. You're really trying to not take that approach and say, all right, I understand what you've read. I understand that this works for you. So let's just make sure we're getting what we need to get it.